The Alien movie story begins when a proto-human monarch drinks a deadly poison that kills him and dissolves his body into strands of human DNA, which is then goes into the water supply. Several million years later, Doctor Elizabeth Shaw believes she has found a map and the invitation to the planet where these proto-humans originated. She calls them engineers and she wrongly assumed they want to meet their children. Shaw and the scientist crew are hired by the Valiant Corporation to find the engineer on the planet LV-223, and after a great deal of trouble, they arrive. But the engineers are all dead. Their spacecraft is filled with jars of toxic black goo, corresponding to egg-like sacs that begin to open once signs of life appear. Yes, Doctor Shaw finds her engineers a lifelong passion bordering on obsession. But what she didn't expect to find was that the engineer had set a course to Earth with the intention of wiping out the human race that had created. The engineers never had their chance as they themselves were wiped out by an ever-evolving neuroform. The Neomorph, the predecessor to the Xenomorph, seen later in the series. Megalomaniacal android David decides to take up the engineer mantle and infect the human crew. After chaos, destruction, and an encounter with a revived engineer who proved his hostility towards human, David and Dr. Shaw escape to the engineer's home. Shaw's new obsession is understanding why the engineers plan to kill all the humans. Was greed one of the human foibles that led to the engineer to want to eliminate humans? It's Peter Valiant's greedy obsession for immortality that drives him to create the android David, who eventually surpasses his maker and winds up creating the xenomorph as we know it. Did the engineers know or come to suspect that human behavior would be the universe's eventual destruction? All signs point to yes. Dr. Shaw never actually makes it to the engineer's home planet, which she and David have been calling paradise. Instead, David kills her and drops the black goo on the thriving planet. He cultivates xenomorph eggs and sends out a welcoming signal to try and attract new life forms to what is now his planet. The Covenant is a colonizer craft set out for one of the few remaining known habitable planets in the universe. Orge 6, along with an engineered ecosystem on board, the Covenant crew is awakened from hypersleep years early, and on a hunch they divert from their course to check out the signal coming from the unnamed planet. So much of the alien story is based on human terraforming faraway planets because the Earth was either becoming or already was uninhabitable thanks to climate change and war. The privileged few humans who could escape our planet did, and with apparent gusto. It didn't seem to bother them that they would spend decades of their life in hypersleep to get to these planets and start rebuilding. Without these humans looking for new places to colonize, the xenomorph would never have found its perfect host to propagate its own species with a little help from David. David has been engineering a few new forms of the xenomorph, a perfect organism that he can finally test on human subject. With the crew on board, the Covenant is Walter, the newest model android, who senses his counterpart is up to no good. When David finds out Covenant has an entire colony of hundreds of humans, it's a battle to stop him before he commands the ship for his own purposes. When he does, we start to realize why the engineers wanted to destroy their human creation. Like their ancestors, humans also decided to play God and create a synthetic life in their own image. David's God complex mirrors his creator Valence, and now David has crafted a monster in the alien vision of the future. Android technology mirrors human emotional development. David and Walter are different models of clone android in Prometheus and Covenant, designed by Peter Whalen for different means to different ends. David was a special creation made to match Whalen's great intelligence and one day surpass it. Walter was created to be a faithful companion to its human counterpart, a protector and a source of support. As Alien begins, it's been 16 years since we left David and the spaceship Covenant. Our salvaging team on the ship Nostromo answers a distress call on planet LV-426, even though they aren't equipped for a rescue mission. Here, second too late, Ellen Ripley figures out that the distress call is actually a warning, but one of her crew, Kane, has already been infected by a xenomorph, facehugger. Breaking quarantine protocols, Kane is allowed back on board, where the alien hatches and wreaks bloody havoc. Ash, a crew member who secretly an android, receives a commune from people at the company who want him to bring the creature back alive no matter the human cost. Here, the android Ash is nowhere near as sophisticated as either David or Walter, presumably because these droids ended up being dangerously advanced, but Ash was also a danger to humans, especially once he got his marching orders to bring the xenomorph back alive. Disobeying orders, Ripley and her crew hunt the monster and eventually kill it. As one of the most memorable survivors put to the screen, Ripley strikes a perfect balance between strength and vulnerability, as well as professionalism and competence. Even though she is met with disbelief when she first discussed the reality of the xenomorph, she refused to be gaslighted. Ripley and that Cat Jones are the only survivors who end this portion of the alien saga, tucked safely in hypersleep, waiting to be found by another ship. Interestingly, Jones was an excellent first alert system, since he did try to warn multiple people about the presence of the alien on board the Nostromo, and like Ripley, nobody listened to him at first. But Jones would go on to survive the series longer than any other human character outside of our well-known heroine. You did think that when one of the deadliest and most virulent creature to ever exist surfaces, the logical thing to do would be to exterminate it, especially if it has the power to destroy every planet it touches. But because of corrupt greed, opportunistic human attack to capitalize financially of the creature at the expense of other humans with less powerful position. The arrogance of man we see throughout this entire series is a sketching indictment of an obsession with the violent and killing. There are few women in much of the alien saga, but it's the women who ultimately fight against this deadly obsession at the start of Aliens. Ripley has drifted in hypersleep for 57 years before she awakened, and it ends up on the military vessel Sulaco. Unfortunately, Sulaco is under instruction to return to LV-426, where Hadley's foe, a human colony, has suddenly stopped responding to all communication. Ripley is in severe post-traumatic stress, which turns into grief when she finds out her daughter died on Earth while she was in hypersleep. Worse still, her claim about the alien monster with acid for blood aren't taken seriously enough to stop the mission. On LV-426, the Sulaco crew and Ripley search the seemingly abandoned colony and find a new xenomorph nest. The eggs have already hatched and use the entire colony as an incubator, with the exception of one survivor, a young girl named Newt. Newt is the same age Ripley's daughter was when she first left Earth, so Ripley is immediately protective of her. Once the Sulaco's military crew realize the Xenophob's threat is as horrific as Ripley insisted, they try to escape, but as an alien, once again corporate and military greed leads to sabotage, this time from Brooke, who determined to preserve a xenomorph specimen. He and the creature are both defeated, and Ripley survives, joined by Newt, joins the cat, corporates, and the torso of android Bishop, who proves to be a portrait of empathy, one in which we can see shades of earlier Walter. The reveal that Ripley's daughter has died becomes key to her character. It explains why she is so protective of the women in her orbit going forward, especially young girls. Even by the time she hybrid reflects in this resurrection, she has a fierce maternal side, shown in the way she shields the android call, as well as continued deep distrust of the company man. When hybrid Ripley has an alien baby who imprints on her, she is horrified and disgusted by the monster, but at the same time she feels their connection and grips only openly when she has to kill it. Shortly after Ripley installs hypersleep on the Sulaco, a fire breaks out, killing everyone else on board and shooting her pod into space. It lands on penal colony Fiorina 161, where the Sulaco shuttle also crashes. But Ripley isn't the sole survivor. A xenomorph and had also made it, had regenerated her before ejecting her onto Fiorina 161. The penal colony has essentially been abandoned by the people who created it, the valiant Yutani Corporation, until they find out there's a live xenomorph on board and that Ripley is carrying an alien fits in her chest because it is a prison planet run by convicts. There are no weapons to fight the monster other than a steel forge that hasn't been used in decades. Ripley and prisoners still finally managed to kill the loose xenomorph again at huge human cost. When valiant Yutani emissaries arrive, they are headed by Michael Bishop, the human template for the android Bishop. But Ripley's know better than to trust company men by now. She throws herself into a pit of molten steel so nobody can try to weaponize the alien monster within her. Ripley's already sacrificed so much in fighting this creature. Here, she gives up the last thing she has left because humans can't seem to be well enough alone when it comes to universe-destroying acid-blooded creatures. Alien Resurrection continues the story 200 years later when the United System military is still trying to recreate a functioning xenomorph aboard the USS Aruga using Ripley's melded human and alien DNA recovered from Fiorina 161. New forms of military scientists tinker with her code to groom the xenomorph. They engineered a hybrid version of Ripley who has green nails, acid blood, and vague memories from the original Ripley who died centuries before. The scientists have also finally created a working xenomorph, but like Ripley, it's not the same creature it once was. It was smarter and would understand English. A salvage team from the ship Betty boards the Aruga with human cargo that will be used to create more monsters for military might. A new droid called is on her own mission to kill the hybrid Ripley before she can give the military the queen that was castrating in her chest. She fails her mission, but Paul's role here is also to show how android progression in this series has reached near human status with a machine who's more human than inhuman. Ripley attempts to kill the queen before she gives birth, but is also too late. However, the queen doesn't give birth to eggs as past queens have. Instead, it gives birth to a fully formed alien with many of Ripley's features. The huge baby alien kills the queen, thinking Ripley is its actual mother, and Ripley is forced to kill her baby. While the Aruba crashes into Earth, Ripley finally makes it back to her home planet, sort of.